sound. Isa okay. almost 3,000 years, I have grown greatly. I have changed, innovated, and reshaped myself. I took the world by storm. I conquered it, surrendered to it, but have always rose again. I was the first to be home to 1 million people. I was the first to embrace a multicultural society. The first to create a network of roads which connected people and new ideas. I nurtured leaders and visionaries. I am a melting pot of cultures and beliefs. I hosted gatherings and major international events. I am known in the world for the richness of my cultural and scientific research. I have built wondrous technological and scientific hubs and a solid and diversified production system. I am the cradle of the largest number of parks, natural reserves, and the biggest agricultural system in Europe. I am open-minded, inclusive, dynamic, and sustainable. Throughout the centuries, I have reinvented myself many, many times. My name is Roma, and I am ready to be reborn again.
Hello everyone, thanks for being with us. My name is Marta Dassù. I'm the Senior Advisor for Europe at the Aspen Institute Italia. I'm here with Gaela Bernini. She's the Secretary General of the Bracco Foundation, and Rana Dajani. She's an eminent professor of molecular biology at the Jordan University, the Hashemite University in Jordan. It's a joint event, then, Aspen Institute Italia and the Bracco Foundation, on trying to reduce the STEM gap, which remains a key problem. It's the right day to have such a debate. It is the International Day on Women and Girls on Science, and very grateful to Elena Bonetti, the Italian Minister for Family and Equal Opportunities, to be here with us. Equally grateful to Paolo Glisenti, General Commissioner for Italy at the Dubai Expo, because he's hosting us in this wonderful Italian pavilion. So please, Paolo, you can come and tell us what you think about our event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's a great honor to have the Minister Bonetti with us, and thank you to Bracco Foundation and to Aspen Institute. This is an important event, as you know. Today we celebrate the International Day set by the UN in Expo also, the International Day of Women and Girls in Science promoted by the UN. It's a global platform, Expo today. We have events all over the site for discussing informal diplomacy issues, as well as the key role of women and girls in sustainability, peace, innovation, security. The importance of women's role and the promotion of gender equality are a cross-cutting anchor theme of all the weeks that we have spent in Expo discussing thematic issues, and is an anchor of our programming since the beginning of Expo and throughout till the end of Expo at the end of March. We have followed the intergenerational, multidisciplinary approach that is leading us to promote outstanding abilities by women and girls in promoting Italian participations in scientific, technological, engineering, and mathematics, as well as education and a long-term technology progress. I just want to mention the David statue you've seen in the pavilion, which is iconic of all whatever we want to show in the pavilion, was created, thought, scanned, produced by women. It was a women-led team that from the very beginning in Florence led the way for the David statue, first ever made digital reproduction to become a reality. And that was, I think, an indication, it is an indication of how art and creative abilities on the part of women and girls come into the technology, mathematics, and scientific model of learning and teaching of new skills. It's really the beginning of the STEM approach that we've been following in Expo since the beginning. It's been interesting the work we've done with women and girls in our academia next door throughout Expo. For example, the participation of women and girl students and teachers in new real estate projects, urban regeneration projects, new school real estate projects, all came out from the participation of female students and teachers from all over the world. And I remember distinctively when one day we posed this question to the students, the female students convened in our academia. We said, do you think it's difficult today for women and girls to enter the scientific technology, mathematical model of growth and development and innovation? To that question, 80% of Italian students, female students, raised their hands, saying, yes, for us, it's difficult. And only 10% of Emirati students raised their hands, saying that for them, clearly, there was a different approach, a much easier approach entering this new model of competence and skill formation and new cognitive abilities. And I thought that was an interesting response that shows how this part of the world is probably further ahead in accepting women and girls into sustainable projects, innovation projects, technological projects. So I just want to thank you for being here and look forward to this debate. It's going to be a fantastic contribution to Expo. When you will go out this evening, you will see the facade of the pavilion lighten up, celebrating the Women International Day in Science. We have done this in collaboration with UN, which is not far away from here. They're holding a meeting now as we speak now here together. So again, Expo is bringing all together us to make gender equality a possible achievement in the near future. So thank you very much for being here again, and I look forward to your debate and your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So let me say that I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very happy and very pleased to be here today on behalf of Bracco Foundation and to participate and to have collaborated on this international event dedicated to girls and science. So our president, the president, Diana Bracco, was eager to participate too, because she is deeply committed to this topic. But unfortunately, at the last moment, she was unable to attend due to unforeseen circumstances. But as you probably know, Diana Bracco is very committed, and she has been committed on this issue in all her different responsibilities that she owed both nationally and internationally. Starting from Expo, really. When she was then president of Expo 2015 and then Commissioner General of the Italian Pavilion, she created for the first time a space devoted to women's empowerment inside the Italy Pavilion. And now, at the World Expo in Dubai, we has made a very important choice, because there is a pavilion dedicated, a specific pavilion dedicated to women. And I hope, and we all hope, that all those who will visit this pavilion will be inspired by it and become agents of change, because we still need change on this topic. More recently, always Diana Bracco, when Italy hosted the G20 summit, Diana Bracco was the B20 Business 20 ambassador for women's empowerment. She led this task force, which strongly urged to all the G20 governments, but also collaborating with the Minister Bonetti here. She urged all the governments to bring back women into the workforce after the pandemic impacts, also to break down the cultural barrier that still exists in STEM subjects. And last but not least, to achieve gender equality in the roles that count, starting from companies and also private companies at the executive level. As also the Bracco Foundation, we are working on many projects and programs. I cite one. For example, it's a database which is called 100 Expert, which is part of the European Network for Women Excellence. This is an initiative which promotes female expertise in all fields, from science to politics, from economics to philosophy, because we need to increase the visibility of women expertise. Women are also experts. More recently, Bracco Foundation have drafted the manifesto Mind the STEM Gap, that we will present today, which aim to facilitate girls' access in all countries to STEM disciplines, because these skills are increasingly in demand in today's work environment. But not only for that, but we will know more about that later. This is a cultural endeavor where schools, families are involved, but it is also an endeavor where every one of you can play a role, a significant role. So this is why we created this manifesto. So now we can continue with our workshop, and again, thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Gaela. And now I would like to give the floor on behalf of the Aspen Institute, the co-organizer of this event, to Elena Zambon. She's vice president of the Aspen Institute. She's personally very committed indeed. We discussed the other day, and together with Rana, also some ideas on all that. So please, Elena, if you wish to go on in explaining why fighting against this gap in STEM is so important. Please, Elena.
Thank you, Marta, and good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today, at least virtually, for this wonderful initiative. And Aspen Institute always deals with strategic topics of great importance. And in the last few years, thanks to brave women like Marta Dassou, we focus also on women and women's empowerment. That is an essential issue at the center of the international debate that we are now experiencing together. Bracco Foundation, thanks also to what Gaela Bernini said, is also very committed on this. So we believe it is important to create awareness on this, but it is even necessary to support women's contribution to society in general, particularly to STEM subjects, because women are determinant. We are half of the world's population. If we want the world to move forward and if we want to progress and to innovate, it is necessary to invest in women, in their training, in their possibility to access to the job market. And if would be really, I think, a waste to give up the great value that the female style of leadership can bring to the world of science. In fact, women, on top of their competences, strong competences, have a distinct approach, I think, to creativity that works very well in scientific research and in particular in the health sector from which I come. The ability to analyze data must join imagination in this field to always find a new solution. And I think in research, also perseverance is fundamental feature, and women are a step ahead on this. They take what they do very seriously, and as we said yesterday also, because they know how much they have to give up in terms of family and children. Therefore, their commitment must be worthwhile. It is why they are never superficial, I think. Women know how to do good research, also thanks to their special engaging leadership style, as I was mentioning. That means that they have a very clear picture on how to take care in a broader sense. They trust in the collaboration and the inclusiveness, the desire to transmit the scientific knowledge and make younger generation grow from a generativity perspective, switch and help them to switch from I to we. And in order to achieve this in such a broader way, it is essential to work in an ethical context. I think that there is a reflection that a great scientist and innovator like Albert Einstein, who used to say, science can supply the means by which to attain certain ends, but the ends themselves are conceived by personalities with lofty ethical ideals. So if we want to build sustainable progress, there must be a strong relationship between innovation and ethics. And in this, I believe women are a step ahead because they are, by definition, involved in the educational process of the young generation. And the women's presence in science, as well as in all sectors of society, cannot reveal all their value and potential if they don't access education. So it's so important that we underline the awareness on this topic. However, much remains to be done on these issues. There is no country, unfortunately, in which women's emancipation cannot take further steps forward, which is why everyone's awareness is essential. There are still too many stereotypes to fight at all levels. And I'm thinking of many countries where women do not have access to education, but also the inequalities that still exist even in more developed countries. So also starting from these remarks, Aspen Institute has just decided to start a research work, a very important one, on gender reporting to aim to help companies to be compliant to the new legislation on extra financial reporting that is going to include not only environmental, but also social parameters. And among them, gender equality occupies a prominent place. So thank you, Marta, and thank you, Fondazione Bracco, to be part of this important project. I believe that initiatives such as this research and today's conference are extremely important to foster the debate on this subject and to build new possibilities and also a new image for women, which younger generation can look at with confidence and inspiration to build their future and a future for all the women and a world that is different, more inclusive, and more respectful of the defining feature and peculiarities of each of us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Marta, and enjoy the conference.
We enjoy being here in Dubai, certainly. So thanks a lot, Elena. Then we will listen to you, Rana, your comments. If you allow me, I would like to give the floor immediately to Maria Chiara Carrozza. She's president of CNR, the National Council for Research. She has a time pressure problem, so we switch to her immediately for her comments. Please, Maria Chiara Carrozza, then. We do not see her. There is a time lag in our... Arriva. Arriva means in Italy is coming, is coming. We will see. I don't know, Rana, do you have a comment in the meantime?
Yeah, till she comes. Maybe the words and the different messages that we heard and the recommendations and advice are really fantastic. And maybe we can add to those that there's so much to learn across cultures. We've heard comments about the differences in the percentages of females between Italy, for example, and Europe, and the Emirates and the rest of the Arab world. So there's something to learn there. And I think we need to look at knowledge to flow not just global north, global south, but also global south, global north. And having that mutual exchange of learning from each other is a fantastic message that I learned today. Another one is the importance of the contribution of females to do better science. When you have a diverse, unique team, you're going to do better science. It's going to be more innovative, outside of the box, because I see that in order to face the challenges of the 21st century, we need that diversity and that uniqueness that has been spoken about.
Okay, Rana, thanks a lot. We will go back with you later on. Please, Maria Chiara Carrozza, so we are ready. Ah, here she is.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Okay, it's a pleasure to be with you and discussing about the role of women in science and technology, especially in Italy, but all around the world, because I think the objective of the manifesto that we are discussing is this, to disseminate the importance of the investment in cultural change and in education in order to support the emergence of women in science and technology careers. So I enjoyed the discussion on that, and I hope to give my contribution. And I think that we have now this responsibility of chairing the National Research Council in Italy. So I would like to make a change and develop a sort of gender balance plan with some active policies to support the career of women and of female researchers by mentoring, by supporting with the welfare measures and with the investment in education. But our, I think, discussion is important from Dubai to all around the world in order to understand that this pandemic caused a lot of inequalities. And it's clear that female researchers, but in general female workers, supported this recovery from pandemic by engaging in family, in supporting services, in staying in smart work, and for that reason we have to support them for encouraging this equally distribution of duties in families and rotation of roles in families in order to support family, both parents, and in order to facilitate this recovery and in general to try to develop some active policies that can be used in future.
Yes, Maria Chiara, you are among the one who did it, because after all you are a very important scientist yourself. Would you say that there is a sort of recipe women, young women, girls could apply to make it? as you did? I mean, which is the key element which brings you to enter a professional scientific career?
I think that the first is that we have to invest in education in order to promote from primary school this message, cultural message that young girls can do what they want, and if they are committed and they are facilitated in doing that. So there are no barriers in entering into STEM jobs, but the barriers are mainly created by stereotypes. So I was lucky because I grew in a city, international city with a big university and a family of people involved in science. So I found a good environment, but we have to work for the rest of the world who is not connected to the good environment. We have to change the environment, and we have to change that from primary school in order to invest in young girls and let them think that they can do and they can be empowered. And the process of growing from children to an adult, becoming adult means to be free from stereotypes, free from family constraints. And I can make a citation from an important novel from by Jane Austen, Persuasion. We have to avoid that families, that cultural boundaries engage us in persuading us that we cannot do something. We cannot study, we cannot be independent, we cannot grow. And we have to fight this persuasion that Jane Austen described so well.
Yeah, you're right. You know, there is a new book written by Stefano Scarpetta at the OSCD, and he writes it down that at the age of 15, boys and girls already are very divided about expectations. So the double of boys as compared to girls think that they can have a future in these scientific careers. Only half of the young girls think the same, so it's a real predicament. Can you tell us, and this is the last question for you, at which age, in your view, this kind of divide begins to emerge? And would you say that after the experience of the pandemic, it is clear at this point that women do not have any real barrier in front of them, because they took, as you rightly mentioned, all the burden all together, multitasking the feminine, and very able, by the way, to work from home in any case, which implies a certain attitude to video screens, at least. Please.
Yes, I think that we have to invest since primary school in educating girls and boys that to be responsible parents means to rotate roles and responsibility in terms of duties for the family and children, first. Second, we have to invest since primary school in order to understand that in some cases, be at home and doing smart working can be also a bit a constraint. Instead of being free to work at home, is to be constrained to be at home. That going and having social contacts and interactions with the other at work is something which is important. So I think we have to find the good balance between doing smart working and doing working in communities, because being in community is something that is very, very useful for removing the barriers that we have defined so well. So, and the digital divide, gender divide, and technological and cultural divides are starting very soon. So I don't think we can do this kind of cultural investment only for girls selecting university 18 years old. It's too late. All studies, as you recall so well, are telling us that we have to invest in children. So since they are young, but because the meanings and the importance of going at school is to meet community and public investment and teachers and people different from families bringing some diversity, which is important for the growth of people. So for me, the school is something which is a public school, and public investment in education means to have social contact with the society, different from family, integrating with families, because family is important, but it's not all the environment. So to keep people at home in doing smart working is not for me, a real growth and a real progress if it is not integrated to being social and in contact with other people. And virtual contact are not enough for me.
Yeah, you're right. We feel the same, and this is why we are physically in Dubai. We hope to see you next time, but thank you very much for the moment being. I give 1 minute to Rana for a comment, because Maria Chiara echoed very much your words about freedom. It's the freedom of choosing your life, which is so important. Please. And then if we prepare the two messages we have got from Patrizio Bianchi and Maria Cristina Messa. Please.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, one thing we've always been talking about, which is equality in the workplace, equality in society. And then we moved on as a society to look at equity, right, to make sure that the barriers are gone. And I want to go further and talk about freedom of choice, to really ask women, what do they want? Many times, as was spoken by the earlier speaker, society sets up expectations for what women should be, for what men should be, boys and girls early on. And what I call for is to challenge those expectations and allow women the freedom to choose what they want. And it could be a spectrum, a range from wanting to be a CEO or a scientist and wanting to be a school teacher or even a homemaker, but to allow her the freedom and to trust her. I think that's an important message that we need to keep in mind across the globe, and this helps us celebrate the uniqueness of each and one of us, and to educate men as well, because in the end, we live all together. And we need each other to support each other. So we also must not forget the young boys to see role models of women that they can support later in their roles in their family and society.
From a scientific point of view, we all support uniqueness at this point as adverse to diversity. I don't mention the reason why, but for the Italians, this is rather clear. Please, the two messages, and thank you indeed, Ran. Please.
Good morning. First of all, let me thank you, Diana Bracco, Giulia Tremonti, and Paolo Grisenti for organizing this very interesting meeting on the occasion of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and that tried to summarize a very important and specific point under this umbrella of women in science, that is the STEM gap, mind the STEM gap. Actually, both as minister and as a person who has been working in universities for a long time, one of the issues that we have to face is that of encouraging and sustaining girls and women in starting a career in the STEM area. When we look at the data about the researcher, women and men, we can see that actually the number of women researchers is almost equal to men researchers. But then when you go to the upper level positions, such as those of professor, both associate and full professor, the number decreases. So there is a huge difference in terms of career. Other than that, it's true that we have a similar number of women and men, both as researchers and as PhD students, but certainly this is true in some specific part of sciences, such as life sciences or human sciences, but it's not the same when we talk about science, technology, mathematics, and and computing science. So we know on the other side that what the society needs today and what can empower a lot both men and women in their job is the knowledge of these specific disciplines, and both industry and but also politics and the social area needs this type of competencies, and it's crucial that we find a way to improve the number of girls who want to start studying STEM sciences. At present, we have only 32% of women that starts this studying, but if we go and look inside these 32%, we go down to 12% for women who start studying engineering and informatics. That are two areas, of course, that can really provide a lot of interesting jobs and assure a future for girls. And the trend is a little bit changing. We hope so, at least, due to the many initiatives that were done in the past years. So in the last year, we found that although there might be a slow decrease of absolute number of students, like 3% decrease, nevertheless, there is an increase in girls starting STEM sciences on an average of 3% and some peak of 12% in data science, which appears very interesting. What is the action of my ministry? Certainly is that of creating equal opportunities and conditions for female and male students. And this condition has not been reached yet, and there are many actions that we can do. Certainly there is always an action on the cultural aspect, the way the children grow up in our country, but let's say that we have also some other instruments that we can start using now. And this is mainly thanks to the funding that is coming from the Recovery Fund, where Italy has an entire Mission 4, dedicated to education and research. Using this funding, we aim at increasing the number of female personnel, particularly expert in science. While the European Commission established as 30% of higher people personnel female, we increase this percentage to 40%. And also in our calls, we will accept only those entities applying to the research calls that have created a governance for gender balance. Either they already have it running or they are going to implement it in the first years. This is particularly important because it relies on the society as the major actor able to decrease gender gaps in all the areas. Also, we have just distributed 500 million euros investment into fellowships that causes an increase of these fellowships, particularly for students who have to move from their country, from their city in order to attend the studies. But we also are increasing by 20% for those female students who are going to start a STEM study. And this is again to encourage girls to start this career. So aside the many actions, there are many other initiatives to increase the number of researchers and careers and professorships, of course. And in this frame, in the last months, we started also new instruments that should globally increase the funding for research. And within this increased funding, of course, women are very much encouraged in starting projects. So we started to fund an Italian science fund for basic research like ERC grants, an Italian fund for applied science that is more devoted to the application of it, but still on a very important and relevant grants. We also are going to start implement many research projects of relevant interest for Italy at national level, increasing the number of projects that could succeed to this measure. And also, at the same time, we are financing some structural improvement in campuses, university campuses. So both enlarging those, renovating, and putting the campus as the best example for the ecological innovation and ecological transformation and digital. These are many steps that should enable everybody to realize their dreams, and particularly our young generation and women in a very special way. Thank you very much.
Please, Gaila.
Thank you. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Minister, for these remarks. Very important to have this environment that will allow the change that we need. Now we continue with the debate. And we have connected Eleonora Dondossola, a young and brilliant researcher. She's a faculty at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. So she's an Italian working in the US. We have also Ersilia Vaudo, who is the Chief Diversity Officer of the European Space Agency. And here with us, already presented, we have Rana Dajani. Okay, we wait for the connection, because I think I don't see them. We are changing a little bit the schedule. Okay, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for participating. So a question for you. So I start with Ersilia. Ersilia, so we talk about STEM discipline, but I just want to focus on one of the STEM discipline, mathematics. You often say that mathematics is an enabler of future. So not only, as we said, is useful to work, to find the jobs in the future and to participate in the job market, but also it is important for social inclusion. It is important for democracy. So you want to tell us your view about that?
Thank you very much, Gael. This is indeed a topic that is very close to my heart, and this is why I have to say that when we talk about STEM and about women in STEM, we should not forget that every phase of a woman's life has a problematic related to STEM. We heard from the ministry about universities, about the choice of a career in STEM, but in a way, the possibility to choose to have a STEM career or not starts at the elementary school, because it is in this moment of a girl life that the STEM identity is shaped. And in this moment where, in a way, through the inclusion in mathematics, we provide to the girls the opportunities, that equal opportunities that will allow them, when they are in high school, to really be able to choose, to decide what they want in their future. Can be STEM, can be to be a poet, but the most important things are that we empower them to be able to choose. And in a way, we heard that one of the
problem with STEM is in those disciplines that have a high intensity of mathematics. We are talking about engineering, we are talking about physics, we are talking about computer science. We see that we have less problems with life science, with medicine, with biology. And probably is the showstopper is really the fact that some way during the first phase of the education, girls are left behind with respect to mathematics. Now, why mathematics is so important? Mathematics is the language of the STEM, is actually the language of those competencies that, as you already said, will be in higher demand in the future. So this is the economic empowerment of the future are in these disciplines. And we know that the World Economic Forum, if there is a gender gap that is increasing every year, and this is amazing, today is 267 years, the year before was 212 years. So there is an increasing gap. This increasing gap is related to the fact, this is the World Economic Forum who says that there are not enough women in those sectors that have a real economic empowerment. Now, going back to the elementary school, we all have the same abilities, but at a certain point, girls start to have an anxiety, to develop an anxiety with respect to mathematics. They start to believe that they are not done for mathematics, and once you're out, you're out. This is really something that should a little bit become the focus of the narrative. And I say this also from the perspective of France. I live in Paris. And in 2017, the president declared mathematics, the inclusion in mathematics, an emergency, a national emergency, a national priority. Why? On one side, because a country that is weak in mathematics risks to be weak in economy also in the future, but there was a reflection much deeper than that. To be excluded from the mathematics is often used to exclude, to create an elite. I am the one who understands mathematics, you don't. So I am in a way better empowered than you, and you don't understand, so leave it. Now, those who feel inadequate towards mathematics, those who feel excluded from those tools, those critical tools, will grow up feeling more and more this sense of inadequacy will result in a way delegating complex reasoning to others, being suspicious toward the experts, and not have this sense of, in a way, belief in the scientific methods, and it will be more easy to manipulate them. So this means that you can have a breach in the sustainability of democracy needs this kind of critical senses. Otherwise, it's much easier, again, to be manipulated and to have to open to populism and to open to the fake news, to open to this mistrust towards science. So I really think that the empowerment we need should start by including everyone, not just the girls, but also those who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. They are also left behind. Only through the inclusion very soon into mathematics, we can build the minds of the future. And in particular, we can provide to everyone equal opportunity to decide about what they want to be.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ersilia. So now a question for Eleonora. So Ersilia was talking about mathematics as language of the STEM. So talking about language, but in the sense of communication skills. How they are important in science? How do you think is important to communicate science, but also to have the support of the public in science? And how do you train yourself on that as a young and brilliant scientist?
Yeah, so communication is the basis for science, because if you make a discovery, but then you keep it for yourself, then it doesn't make a point. So communication is the real basis among the scientific community, but I think it's also very important to establish communication with the lay audience, so people that are not in the field. So it's a little bit the same that Ercilia was mentioning. If people are not educated in science, then there's this feeling they become suspicious, they think there's something behind that you don't want to tell them. So it's very important for scientists to be very open with the public, speak also in a way that they can understand, because of course not every discovery that you make or every component of the science can be so easily achievable. So I think it's a responsibility from our side to make science understandable to the audience and to be inclusive at all levels. So we should start also with kids. So we should start highlighting how science is important, how science is nowadays a component of everyday life. So everything is science. It can be communication, it can be watching the TV, using the computer. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. So it's very important that we start educating the kids and then that we can pursue this path in the school, and also let also girls know, since we are talking about girls today, how important they are. So often we don't say to girls that they can make it. So we kind of give for granted that guys are better in science or mathematics. And an important frame shift, it's also related to the community. So we don't only have to tell kids and girls and guys that girls can really pursue a career in science, but we should also tell the teacher, the parents. So we need to make a big shift in the entire community. And communication is the basis for this. I see here in the US, also several aspects of science are really addressed very early in the elementary school. So we often see in TV shows that kids are doing these scientific contests when they are in third grade or so. So they are probably much more exposed to science. This is something that we can, even though in Italy the situation is really improving now, we should expose people much more to science. So yeah, I think communication is really important at several levels. In our field, where we communicate a lot, also communication between among people coming from different fields is very important. So sometimes the feeling is that the communities are a little bit closed. So if I talk to a physicist or a mathematician, sometimes it can be tough. So it's very important that we establish a very open communication among the scientific community and also with people outside the scientific community. So in this way, we can really make science more achievable for everybody, make it more understandable in a way that everybody can really have the basis to form an informed opinion. So this is very important. It's also very important. So with science, we always cite, so if you communicate something, if you're talking about science, you always refer to specific facts. So this is very important that we bring facts when we communicate science. And for example, I can bring one of my experiences. So some years ago, almost 5 years ago, I took part to this contest that was putting together science and fashion. Somebody thought that this was kind of a weird idea, but I can guarantee that science and fashion have a lot in common. And the point of this experience was to make scientific communication with a little bit different perspective. So the idea was to bring a scientist and a fashion designer together, and the fashion designer had to develop an outfit based on the scientific inspiration given by the scientist. So it was even quite a long experience because it lasted 1 year and it ended with this runaway. So these opportunities was created by MIT in Boston. And then it involved people at we engaged people at several levels. So I had the opportunity to present my research on bone metastasis using this outfit developed by the fashion designer I was working to. So this was a little bit an out-of-the-box way to communicate science. So I think it's really important also to use this type of instruments that now we have, again, to make science more achievable for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Eleonora. Very interesting, also this innovative project. So together with Marta, we would have many questions for you, but we want to give also some protagonism to the young people that is present with us today. So we have young students, and since it's the day of Girls in Science, we would like to have also them asking questions. So please, the floor is, who has a question from you? Okay, we have one question over there, if we give the microphone. Okay, so please tell your name and then you can make the question and see who is the panelist who will answer.
Yes, good morning. My name is Danielle, Madame. I have a question for Eleonora. So I would like to ask you if in your life or maybe in your family you have known a woman who inspired you to arrive where you are now at 40, under 40 in cancer. And then I'd like to congratulate for your achievement. I think I'm speaking for everyone. You are an example for all women and all men here. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you for your nice words. So when I started my career, so I had the support of my family, so that was really, really important for me. So I always was pretty committed to a career in science, in biotechnology, in cellular biology. So I started when I was in high school. I really felt that was my path. So when I started studying a little bit the biology of cancer, probably when I was at the 4th year of high school, I was really fascinated by this, and I immediately realized that was my path. And I'm very lucky because my family was always supportive of my choices. Back then, so I was discouraged by the people around me to pursue this kind of career because it was more, people thought it was more suited for male, and also that it was a career with very limited rewarding. And I can say this is not the case, so I'm very happy of the path the trajectory that I pursued, and so the support of the people around me. So the family was very important, was the most important part. And even though some people were not really supportive of this, honestly, it was bothering sometimes, because if you feel people around you, also peers, saying, what are you talking about? So you want to have a career in science, you will go nowhere, you will not have a job. If you need some help in the future, count on me, I can help you. So because your life will be miserable. So it was really not helpful, but I just didn't care. So I'm very happy the way my career developed. Of course, it's complex, so everybody faces drawbacks and obstacles that you have to somehow leave behind. But and this achievement that I got with this recognition in November was really a very important tile that I put in the mosaic of the development of my career. So thank you again.
Thank you, Eleonora. We have another question, so it would be nice maybe a male asking this question. Okay, we have one. So we have the balance in this way.
Hi. Good morning, I'm Andrea. Nice to meet you all, and thank you for your time here. It's a really interesting debate. So I have a question for the general panel. I was just thinking about the Dubai Expo. Basically, there are three main topics, so opportunity, sustainability, and mobility. And I feel it's very interesting because the Italian pavilion is right in the middle between opportunity and sustainability, as maybe they are the two main topics for the future. So trying to fight climate change, but at the same time, it's very important to think about social justice and gender equality, as we were talking about today. So my question is, do you think that there could be a connection between these two main topics, so economic growth and sustainable growth, while at the same time trying to fight and to avoid gender inequalities and social injustice? So that's my question. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So sustainability in the sense of also of gender equality. So we are talking about the Agenda 2030 here, the UN agenda. So who wants to answer? Maybe Rana?
Thank you for that question. Actually, that's a very important question. Thank you for bringing it up. It's about how do we strike a balance, right? While achieving all the advances we want, but maintaining an ethical lens and an ethical social justice around the world. One of the challenges achieving the gender, I want to say freedom or liberation, freedom of choice, I think it has to do also with changing the framework in which we exist in. So the framework that we exist in, especially in the workplace, is that made by men for men. And when women entered the workplace, they didn't pause and say, I would like to reframe the workplace to fit my priorities as a female. Maybe if we can just focus on one biological difference, is that a female has a uterus and therefore at some stage in her life will have to take time for that. They did not fit, we didn't change the framework. So I think one important way forward is for women to design according to their priorities, how they see the workforce, to design their journey in their trajectory in their career. And that could be very different. It could be doing things even after you're older, after 40. It could be a zigzag. This was research that came out of MIT showing that women's career kept going up after 40 in a zigzag fashion, while for men it went up and plateaued at 40. So we may have different career paths, and we need to celebrate that. And in order to do that, we need role models. Role models, as was talked about earlier, but also for everyone, for the uniqueness. So we need role models who look like us, who speak like us, who come from our neighborhood, so that we can really relate to them. And in order to showcase them more and make them more visible, they need to write their stories, or we need to showcase them, invite them into our towns, into our homes, so they become the new celebrities, right? The scientists. So young women and men can dream about being like those people, and that if they can dream it, it can become a reality. And I think with COVID, this offers a chance, because through Zoom, we can actually talk to people around the world and integrate with them and allow the young people to ask them questions to really see that reality. And maybe lastly on that social justice aspect, how do we address that? Recently also it's about visibility. 2 days ago we wrote a correspondence to Nature highlighting the Palestinian female scientists, how they don't have a chance to do their own science, and that we need to call that social justice on the global arena so that we can speak up and support them. So I think it's about communication, speaking up. You know, if you see something, say something. We have to be very vocal and talk about it and communicate, and only that way we can change the ecosystem in the workplace, we can change the ecosystem at home, amongst our families, and change all the members of society. So I think, I don't know if you want to comment.
Thank you indeed. Gaila, maybe you can present your famous manifesto at this point, and I will present our proposals for fellowships. Please.
Thank you, Marta. Thank to the whole panel, the panelists. Thank you so much. We now move to another moment of this workshop today together. So it's now. I will present the Mind the Step manifesto. So again, let me express the gratitude for being here and for being hosted by the Italian Pavilion. And I want to thank all the staff who worked with us to prepare the presentation, and especially to Bernardo Tarantino and his patient. So if we can see, okay, so why we are talking about STEM? Why STEM subjects? Because STEM this subject have the greatest impact on empowerment for three reasons. Because they refer to sectors that are continuously in growth. So they refer to important growth sectors. Because they offer a lot of work opportunities presently, but also for the future, so in perspective. And also because they offer a lower gender pay gap that we know is still also a problem. And that's why we decided to talk about STEM, especially in this manifesto. So I think most of you are aware of this data. The previous speakers have already also spoke about the problem of women graduating in STEM subjects. For example, we have this UNESCO data where only 28% of women are graduating in engineering, and only 40% of this number is graduating in computer science. So for sure, it's not enough for this diversity and uniqueness that we were mentioning before. But I also want to cite another number, that only women account for 33% of scientists, researchers worldwide. So then we can really say science needs women. This is important because science needs to be, to have women, more women participating, and to do that we need to rely, as also Minister Messa said, on school and families to cultivate the early interest in STEM subjects. So this is why we work on the manifesto. And this manifesto was begun, we started working in last year in 2021, but this manifesto drew on years of commitments and on programs that the Bracco Foundation, the Fondazione Bracco, promoted over time, really to contrast, and I would say to combat gender stereotypes, to draw attention on women achievement. We really tried to make scientists as celebrities, really try to do that. And also to give visibility to women experts, as I said before, and also to promote inclusive teaching with projects such as the Science Hour that we promoted inside the Italian schools. This manifesto then is a commitment and a shared responsibility. It aims to promote a more and more inclusive education at home and at school, overcoming prejudices and stereotypes. So these are the main principles of this manifesto, and you can read. I don't want to enter into detail. There are only 6 principles, but we want to shed light on languages, on cultural stereotypes, on behavioral model, on toys and cognitive development, and also to the access of knowledge that we offer our children, to be aware what we are offering. And so in so doing, we wish to actively address gender bias and stereotype, which limit the engagement of girls and women in STEM education. I just want to mention the first principle, language. Be aware of words. Words are like stones, Carlo Levi used to say. And they can become invisible walls that will prevent women to choose the STEM subjects. So this is why, to overcome all these stereotypes, we know is a challenge. Cultural change is a real challenge. So to win it, we need to involve all the educational community. Everybody needs to be involved. This is why we worked on a manifesto that now is available in 3 versions. One for families, one for schools, and the other one for girls and boys. So we also try to involve those that are a little bit younger, the boys and girls, that can become really an agent of their change. They can, to invite them to really to shape the world that they want to live in. And so, as you can see, we work on different versions, and we also translated in Arabic the manifesto for this opportunity to have the chance to present it today. So, I think it was already said.
Perfect.
Thank you. But just one word, that just to remind that this is a participatory project. It can have success only if we share and diffuse it. So my invitation now is that you all present and the one of you that are listening to us will sign it, will sign this manifesto. So thank you. So Marta, the floor is yours.
So you have to sign the manifesto, this is for granted, but you also have to apply to the new 10 scholarships that the Aspen Institute Italia has decided to put on the plate of this very vast menu we have to tackle with to be able to make a real progress. So you will find all the information in the Aspen Institute Italia website. The point is that we have decided to allocate funding to 10 new scholarships so as to allow young women to enter a degree in the STEM disciplines. There are criteria: age, first of all, 20 years old max, merit. The performance during the schooling years would be very important for a final judgment. Personal income, you have to be poor enough, I'm joking, to aspire to this scholarship. That means as a max 40,000 euros a year. And you have to be a person which lives in the south of Italy and are ready to move in one of the 7 most important universities in our country. You will see the names of the different polytechnical and universities in our website. The logic, I don't have to explain to you, the logic is very clear. It's the same logic Cristina Messa was explaining to all of us. We have to break this sort of psychological but also economical barrier preventing young women to enter these disciplines. And so we think we are ready to give, as Aspen Institute, a real contribution to the human capital of our country. This is really very important. I make only a general observation. The rate of participation of women to the labor market in Italy is improving a little, isn't it, Minister Bonetti? There is a slight improvement in 2021, and then we still are around 50%, which is one of the lowest participation rate in the major European countries. So try to skill young women in these professions, and we will have a contribution to the Italian growth, and this is of the utmost importance indeed. Thank you very much.
So now we have another contribution. I'm very happy if you can join us on the floor to have another voice from Professor Nihil Shabrak. She's CEO of the United Arab Emirates University Innovation and Science Park. I would like you to give a comment on what you just heard. Please, you can have the floor there. About the different panelists and the presentation, the manifesto for the promotion of STEM. I know you are very keen about it and you work a lot on this topic.
First of all, thank you for inviting me, for having me today here to talk about this topic, which is actually very important. And I have been actually working and thinking about this topic for the past few years. And I want to ask you a question, mainly the youth who are here today. I'm sorry I cannot see you very well, but I want you to tell me. I will give you 2 options, and I want you to raise your hand and to vote. Do you want to pursue a career, or let's say a degree in STEM, or do you want to say, alleviate poverty, contribute to the well-being, stop people starving on the planet, reversing climate crisis? Which one do you prefer, the first or the second? First? Second? I don't see. Can you raise your hands? STEM, first. Second is stopping poverty, alleviating poverty, reversing climate crisis, contributing to the well-being. What do you prefer, 1 or 2? 1? 2? 2? Yeah. You have the answer. It's as simple as that. STEM is too dry. And we, as human beings, and mainly as women, we want something to drive us. And this thing that drives us is a purpose that is higher than ourselves. We want to live, and we want to leave a trace in the universe. We want to do something good for the community, for the earth. And this, of course, requires that we will learn those scientific and technological skills. That's part of the future. That's the future of learning. However, if you want to reverse, because the problem is not only, I don't think there is any government or any country that is stopping women from pursuing a career in STEM. It's a problem also of demand, and it could be explained by these cultural factors that you mentioned, the hidden limits that we have, that we don't perceive, that are stopping this freedom of choice, but also because there are women who I don't want to be, to go to engineering. I want to solve a problem. I want to solve a challenge. That's what drives me, and that's my purpose, and that's how you change and you reverse and you bring women to STEM. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now we listen a moment to Professor Quadrio-Curzio.
So yes, we are very, very happy now that we have another digital presence here with Professor Quadrio-Curzio, who will continue the presentation of the Aspen Scholarship in STEM Disciplines. Professor Quadrio-Curzio is President Emeritus of Accademia Nazionale dei Lincei and is in the General Council of Aspen Institute Italia. So, Professore,
please.
Many thanks for the invitation, and I am quite admired of this initiative, which seems to me unique on this field. I just spent some word explaining why Aspen Institute Italia, which is here represented by Marta Dassù, has decided to sponsor a scholarship for OWSD, for the organization Women Scientists for the Global South, developing countries. Probably most of you knows this important organization, OWSD, which started in 1988 as a UNESCO program. The field of this organization is to support PhD studies and post-PhD fellowship of women coming from developing countries in order to pursue the specialization in STEM. Now, this organization has about 10,000 fellows who had already concluded their own program of scholar and early work in this field. Now there is another initiative, and this is why Aspen supports this initiative. Aspen Institute Italia. The initiative is to deliver a scholarship for women who has got a PhD already in STEM and who would like to have a period of professional activity in a country different from her country, like, let us say, a women scientist of South might have a professional experience in a developed country of North, and then to go back to her country. So it's a kind of early professional fellowship to be utilized in a country different from her country, but to prepare coming back to the original country. So a kind of connection between South and North through ladies, women, which have already good scholarship, good professional in with the PhD, and then to start working experience to bring back to their own countries. So husband sponsored for 1 year an early career fellowship, which is about $50,000. And I think this is quite interesting initiative.
Thank you very much. Alberto, thank you indeed. I would like to ask Minister Bonetti now to come to the floor. I would like to put you a provocative question. Don't you think that part of the math phobia we have all around, at least in part, depends on the way in which math is taught in our school? There is a problem of teaching math and not only of going to math.
Yes, for sure. And I'm talking as a mathematician and a teacher of mathematics in the university. So good afternoon, everybody, and dear Ambassador Leonard, dear participants. I'm really honored and delighted to be here with you to participate at this conference. Let me thank Bracco Foundation and Aspen Institute for inviting me today on the occasion of this very special day. And a special thanks also to Commissioner General Glisenti. Let me say that this pavilion embodies the deep link between science and beauty as the magnificent 3D reproduction of David tells us. The International Day of Women and Girls in Science was established by the United Nations in 2015 to remember the fundamental role of women as agents of change, also in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Today, we celebrate science and we celebrate the creativity, the talents, and the dreams of girls and women in science. I am proud of the fact that women's empowerment and the promotion of gender equality are recurring topics in Expo 2020 Dubai, and in particular in the Italy Pavilion's program of initiatives. We highlighted women's and girls' outstanding abilities in science. Let me say that this is one of Italy's most inspiring proposals for Expo. The role of STEM subjects is central to this narrative and to women's empowerment too. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, these are the challenges for our future. And we need women's experience and women's vision in all the sciences to build our future. Today's discussion highlights also our commitment to remove the barrier that for too long has excluded women from the world of science, mathematics, and technology. It is clear STEM education is an investment for the entire society. It cannot be considered an exclusively male prerogative. We need to inspire girls to study STEM disciplines. We want to increase scientific and digital skills for women. Women's empowerment needs science, But I agree with you. At the same time, let me say that science needs women. We are now aware that the first step consists in changing the foundations and structure of our educational systems. I am referring above all to the systematic association between disciplines, roles, and gender. But there are no disciplines for men and disciplines for women. These are the stereotypes that we must remove. I am a mathematician and I am a woman engaged in politics. We have a responsibility. Our society has erected barriers forcing women to give up, to think that engineering or physics are not appropriate disciplines for them. My commitment, our commitment, is to demonstrate that this is not true. We must promote a cultural change to enable girls and young women to believe that they can become whoever they want to be and achieve whatever they aspire to, as any male colleague does. The Italian government is strongly committed to this goal. We included STEM education for girls as one of the main pillars of the first Italian strategy for gender equality. The wide range of actions proposed in the strategy includes the introduction of advanced courses in STEM disciplines, the funding of public scholarship for girls in STEM fields. So let me thank and appreciate Aspen Institute for the new initiative in this direction. The designing of university courses aimed primarily at promoting women professionals in STEM subjects. A mandatory teacher training on gender mainstreaming and gender stereotyping with particular attention to STEM and high segregation disciplines. In addition to these specific actions, there are measures to encourage a cultural change. The reform of requirements for textbooks and training materials to ensure visibility for women, as well as the promotion of positive role models for gender equality and to combat gender stereotypes. This task becomes even more urgent in the age of ecological transition and the fight against climate change, searching for sustainable development. The risk is of building these fields as technical silos dominated by men. The opportunity is to promote the contribution of women. Also for this reason, it is crucial to invest in STEM education for girls and young women so that they can take the initiative. With this general perspective, I can only express my appreciation for the initiatives presented today by the Bracco Foundation and the Aspen Institute. The Mind the STEM Gap Manifesto outlines the fundamental steps for women to move forward in science and technology. A new language, the promotion of critical thinking, the enhancement of positive role models and diversity. Today, from here, we want to launch a clear message to girls. Science, mathematics, engineering, and technology are the path of your dreams. You need STEM language to make your dreams reality. And we need your dreams to build our future. So it is a simple theorem. To invest in STEM education for girls means investing in our future, a better future for all of us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Minister. I know that you are a wonderful teacher in mathematics, indeed. Really, a very, very brief final comment on your side, Rana. While we received, at the very last minute, out of bounds, in a sense, a message from Minister Bianchi, with the Minister of Education, so I would suggest that we listen to it because it is important, but only after your two final words. Rana, please.
Thank you very much. I really want to everybody take home message that the Minister gave us, and I want to add to that an action item, that we all go home and talk about this, share our thoughts and ideas, and most importantly, listen to the young girls, to their dreams, and support them. And if they can dream them, then it can become a possibility, absolutely. And to write your stories so that women, we have heroes everywhere, but we don't hear about them. So to write those stories, I wrote my book, 5 Scarves, that talk about the different roles women can play, whether it's a mother, a teacher, a scientist, a social entrepreneur, to change the community, to take science to social justice and to change to achieve the SDGs, or being an activist to support human rights. So read, write, and listen. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Wonderful words, wonderful reply to the Minister. So as a closing of the event, after Minister Bonetti, we'll listen to Patrizio Bianchi, the Minister of Education, for 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. Thank you to all in the meantime.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this very, very kind invitation. And let me say thanks to Paolo Glisenti for the extraordinary activities that the Italian Pavilion is doing day by day in the Expo 2020. I need also to stress my acknowledgement to Diana Bracco and Elena Zambon. Within the Aspen community, we are discussing about the role of women in our society. We are discussing about the role of STEM in our society. And I'm very, very happy to have this opportunity to discuss here in Dubai about the need to think in advance to the transformation of our society. We need more knowledge. We need more learning. We need more capacity to link our future and the education of our girls and boys. But we need to give more opportunities to our women, to give more opportunities to our girls, to provide two possibilities for a personal development in sciences and technologies. Sciences and technologies are not be considered simply a discipline, a part, a simple part of the entire education system. Day by day, we are discovering that STEM is something that is transversal. It's the idea that we need to put together different capacities, different competencies, in order to strengthen the capacity of our people to face uncertainty, to support innovation, to generate innovative environment. And for this reason, we are investing massively our National Plan for Recovery and Resilience in providing opportunities for women in this tendency that is a necessary, sorry for the game, for the word game, in more technology, in more sciences, in more capacity to control the basic idea, the basic concepts of our transformation. And I'm very happy that Diana Bracco and Elena Zambon now can stress this need, supporting this joint program between the Pavilion, Aspen, and the Minister of University and the Minister of Education. It's clear that we have to stress the role of the universities here. It's clear. But it's also clear that we have to start in this process of orienting our kids from the primary school. We have to arrive at the university. We have to arrive to the research centers. We have to arrive to the companies. But we have to start from the primary schools. We have to introduce in the primary schools more opportunity to control new languages, scientific languages. We have to introduce in the secondary school more capacity to manage the concept that is possible to have a theory, but we have to test the theory, to check the context, and to regenerate also our knowledge. We have to introduce the idea that we have to have more interrelation between the productive system and the education system, between companies, institutions, and the territory. For this reason, when we are thinking that we are investing more and more in new languages, that we are investing more and more in allowing our girls to become more and more the new center of this general transformation of the country. We have to put at the center also the educational system. We have to put at the center the educational system of our life. We have to put our educational system at the center of our transformation. Our national plan is based on two concepts. One is recovery. It's clear that we have to recover, not only from the pandemic, we have to recover also from a long period of individualism. We have to recover for a period of transformation, structural transformation, that we need to take more in account, and we have to explore more and more. Resilience is the idea that recovery is not enough. We have also to innovate. We have not just to adjust from the shock, but from the shock we have to regenerate the entire country, the entire economy, our society, ourselves. And therefore, for this perspective, that I want to thank you, all of you. Thank you to the Foundation, Bracco Foundation. Thank you to Aspen, and thank you to all the people that are supporting this extraordinary transformation of the country. This is the moment, and this is the moment where all of we need to work together for our recovery and resilience. In other words, for our country. Thank you.
Thanks to Minister Bianchi and Minister Bonetti. That was a wonderful conclusion. So we have a manifesto, we have new scholarships, we have new friends, we have new ideas, and I hope we will be able to exploit the crisis. As we know, a crisis is always also an opportunity, and we will do, each of us, the possible best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.